Welcome to today's tutorial. Today I'll be taking you through how to develop with Visual Studio Code Dev Container. This is specifically for Windows users. So we're going to require 3 prerequisites. So that's the Docker desktop. We're also going to require Git Bash, and we're also going to require Visual Studio Code. So we'll just confirm that we have Docker desktop installed in our machine. So once you open Docker desktop, this is what you'll be able to see. For now, we don't have any containers running. Then you'll go ahead and confirm that you have Git Bash. We need Git Bash, and we're not going to be using other command lines like PowerShell because we need to run curl commands, and we need to also git clone different repos that we're going to be using. So you can also download this from the internet. Then we'll also install Visual Studio Code, which is what we're going to be using to run our CHT commands, because we're going to be using dev containers to run our CHT commands. So on the documentation site, we have there a link that will lead you to where you can download Visual Studio Code for Windows. We'll go into Git Bash, and I'll be creating an empty directory or an empty project folder that we're going to call CHT project, and I'm going to be doing this inside my desktop. Then we'll go ahead and confirm that that directory has been created, and we've named it CHT project. Then we go into that project directory. So once we've gone into that CHT project directory, we go ahead and copy 3 commands on the doc site, and this command will first of all download our config file. That's the dev container.json config file, install the dev container extension, and open the project directory in Visual Studio Code. So this config file will just highlight the environment that we would like to use. So once we run that command, you can see it has opened Visual Studio Code, and we have the empty CHT project directory there, and we have that dev container.json file already created, and it will prompt us to reopen in container. So that's what we'll do, so that we can develop inside the dev container. Once you reopen in container, what you'll be able to see is the terminal for this dev container. And we also have the container now running in Docker desktop. So the terminal for the container, we have it here, and that is where we're going to be running our CHT commands. So it looks different from the normal terminal when you click on terminal within Visual Studio Code. We can also confirm from our extensions that the dev containers extension is now installed within Visual Studio Code. Now we have already created our empty CHT project directory, confirmed that we've installed dev containers extension, and now we're going to go ahead and initialize our project layout. So CHT project directories have a certain framework that they look like, so that's what we're going to be doing, and we're going to do that by running this command. As you can see now, the project directory looks different. It has a different framework. It has a couple of subfolders in it. We have app settings, forms, privacy policies, and all these are empty because remember, it's just an empty framework of how CHT project directories look like. So the next thing we're going to do is use Docker helper to run our CHT local instance so that we're able to see it on our browser. And the first thing we'll do is clone CHT core from GitHub. So you can find this in the Medic repo. And all this is highlighted on the documentation site in CHT Docker Helper documentation. So we clone CHT core. We go back to our browser, and that's where we clone it. So I'm cloning it within my desktop. You can clone it wherever you'd like. So once our CHT core has already been created within our local machine, we go in, and in the CHT core directory there is scripts, and we go into Docker Helper 4x, but you can also use Docker Helper 3x if you're using CHT 3. We want the latest CHT core version. If you do have CHT core, make sure you git pull origin. And for us, we're going to initialize a new project, and we're going to name the project Roundup Call October. So it's going to take some time to download compose files for the first time. And then it outputs a URL here, a CHT URL that we're going to be using. We copy it and we paste it on our browser so that we're able to see our local instance. Once you paste it, you're able to log in using your username and your password. We log in, and here we have the CHT user interface. We are able to see our application there, and we are able to see that we are able to create a new health facility. And within users, we only have our administrator user. And also within app forms, we have a bunch of app forms there that usually are the default forms that come with CHT core. Remember, you're able to upload different forms, and we're going to see that in a minute. So the next thing we're going to do is push our project content to our local instance. So we take that same URL that we had there, and we use the CHT command that has been highlighted here, and it's also on the doc site. We make sure that the port is what has been provided by Docker Helper. So once you copy this and go back to your terminal in VS Code, and you paste that, you can see we have an error here, and that's because this URL that we have, this URL that was provided by Docker Helper, as you can see, this URL has 127.0.0.1, which is a loopback URL, and so the container is not able to access our local instance. So this is something that's being fixed, but the workaround for now is you look for the IP of your local machine, and you do that by searching for IP config. You copy that which is provided in IP version 4 address, and that's what you use instead of the loopback URL that was provided, that was 127.0.0.1. So you replace that with the IP of your local machine. We are working on this to ensure that Docker Helper outputs the correct URL. Ensure that your port remains the same as what was provided. So once we copy this command and paste it within Visual Studio Code terminal, so it runs all CHT commands, upload contact forms, upload app forms. You can also do them separately according to what you want to upload. So once you go back to your browser, you can see it's given you a prompt that an update is available. You reload, and you can see now we don't have the Create New Health Facility button because remember, it was a completely blank project. Once we go to App Management, you can see in App Forms, we don't have the forms we had before. So we have successfully uploaded a blank project.